Everybody, hi, I'm Dan DeFedericis of Saratoga Report. I am here with Saratoga Springs Supervisor Matt Veitch. We're going to have a nice talk with Matt, but this is sponsored content paid for by citizens for Veitch. Matt, before we get into things, first of all, could you just briefly explain? You're a supervisor for the city of Saratoga Springs, but it's kind of a county level job. Could you represent county legislature almost? Could you explain that position a little bit?
Sure. So, I am one of two supervisors that represent the city of Saratoga Springs at the Saratoga County Board of Supervisors. We basically get elected as the top two vote getters in our election. What a county supervisor does is that we have, functions at the city level, DPW, police, fire, recreation. But at the county level, they have a lot of different departments that are basically state level functions that the county does, such as mental health, the sheriff's office, public defender's office, DA, county clerk, county treasurer. We also have our own DPW and other departments like that. But we do a lot of those different functions that the city doesn't handle within things like public health and whatnot that are handled at the county level. So as a county supervisor, my job is to oversee that. We are the legislating body for Saratoga County. So any laws, regulations, funding that comes through us as a county board of supervisors. So it's kind of like one level of government away from your local government. We're in between the state and the city. Sure. So that's kind of what we do at the Saratoga County Board of Supervisors. But it's a larger government than the city. It handles the entire county. So that includes all of the surrounding towns and includes the city. So that's what we do.
Okay, and you're running for re-election. Could you tell me why you're running for re-election?
Sure. So I've been supervisor for the city of Saratoga Springs now for 16 years. So I've been in office for a long time. A lot has changed since 2008 when I first took my oath of office for the city of Saratoga Springs. But really, there's still a lot of things to do. There's always things to do in the county. We have a lot of things going on right now. We have a countywide facility study. We're looking at, how we serve our public through our buildings and departments. The county has a lot of little buildings all over the county where we do things. It's a little disjointed sometimes with service. But we're looking to see how we can consolidate some of that to make it a little easier for our residents to come in and visit us when they need us for service. We're a growing county. We're one of the fastest growing counties in upstate New York. So that comes with a lot of challenges, such as economic development, open space, trails, those kinds of things. And, I've worked really hard at that during my tenure at supervisor to push for open space and push for trails and work on the quality of life of our community so that we don't become like a lot of other places, where it's overgrown, suburban sprawl. We want to keep our character as well as grow the county. So, and then those comes with challenges as well, such as the homelessness issue and public safety. So, there's a lot to do. I feel like I have accomplished a lot, but still have a lot to do. And I still think that there's some value in serving the residents of our city at the county level. So I'm running for supervisor again for my 9th term. And hopefully the voters will agree that, I can continue in that job.
And of the candidates running for this position in Saratoga Springs this year, you're the only one right now with experience and the relationships, right? That's just as important. You've got relationships with all the other supervisors that you've known for years, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think, there's been some turnover at the Board of Supervisors, since I've been there, which is good. But a lot of supervisors seem to serve for a long time at the county. And so a lot of my colleagues there I've known for a long time. What I think is also important with my experience there is, also the state level and national level of relationships, because really everything that happens, to us or by us is through state or federal initiative, right? There's a lot of that connection that you need to have among all forms of government, whether it's the city council or, your federal representative. It's important for a supervisor to have that connection. And I've built a lot of different connections over the years with a lot of different federal agencies. I participate in our national and state associations for our county associations. And I've met a lot of people who've actually helped us out a lot. You make that phone call and funding comes down to Saratoga County. When you know who to call, who to talk to, how to get it done, it's really important.
And I've been watching your career for a while. You reach across the aisle regularly. I've seen you with Kerry Warner. I've seen you with the governor's office. I've seen you with Paul Tonko. You will do what you can to get things done for Saratogians, from what I've seen.
Yeah, and I think even from the local level. I mean, I think I've worked well at the city council with our commissioners and the mayor. One of the things that we did this year was to put some funding into the outdoor dining program, which is an initiative that Commissioner Moran has been very engaged in. So him and I worked together to he kind of had the idea, was trying to work on that project. He came to us looking for some funding, and we were able to get that for him. But he included me in some of those meetings where we actually picked the design of the barriers and the color, and got into some of that detail. So I appreciate the commissioner doing that. But it shows that even with past commissioners, John Frank and I worked on a South Broadway study many years ago, to try to talk about economic development on South Broadway. So I think I have a history of that, where it doesn't really matter who's in office. I'll do what I have to do for the city to get results for our residents.
Great. And you've touched here on some of your accomplishments. Are there some in the past couple of years you'd like the voters to recognize you for?
Sure. So, they don't always get in the paper or on the front page of, the Saratoga Report sometimes, but
everything, I don't miss a thing, darn it.
So, one of the things that we've done, or there's many things we've done over the past 2 years, and a lot of it is funding, right? The county can help the city with funding. We're a much larger government, and we have a pretty sizable surplus. And so it's good for us to come and give back to our local community. So, one of the things that we got done was we got $300,000 from the county for the 3rd fire station out on the East Ridge. Saratoga County actually runs the hazardous materials team for the county out of Saratoga Springs. So the hazardous materials fire truck, dispatches out from Saratoga Springs, which is pretty cool. I mean, we're the only 24/7 fire station in the county. So it's good for us, anytime, 2 a.m, there's a hazardous spill, our guys go out and do that. So it's pretty amazing what they do there in that program. But because we do that, the county should have had some piece of funding that station, right? One of our county vehicles is there. We house it there. And so, asking for the $300,000 from the county, we got that done. So we have county assistance for our 3rd fire station, which is really important.
I don't think I knew that.
And I worked with Commissioner Dalton on that back when she was in office. So, again, I appreciate them, being open to that idea and, kind of letting me run with it to get that done. So, that was very important and helpful to the city at the end of the day. We've gotten $100,000 this year for city initiatives. We put that money toward purchasing bikes for a bike school program at the school district. We've put money into the outdoor dining program, as I mentioned before. We're actually going to be doing a new signage project, welcome signage for Saratoga Springs. So, as a native Saratogian, somebody who's lived here my whole life, I always found it strange that our borders were not signed at our city.
I noticed that too, out on Route 29 going east towards Schuylerville,
yes,
and a few other places. And some of the signs we do have look awfully dated.
Yeah. So you see the welcome to Wilton sign, right? Or you see the welcome to Town of Saratoga sign or Town of Milton sign. And they're like at every single line, right, for those towns. But going the other way, coming into the city, you don't see anything, right? It doesn't tell you that you've reached the city border and welcome to our city, right? So we're putting some money from this $300,000 into that project. You'll be hearing more about it. It's kind of right in the middle of being developed right now. It's going to match the major entrance signs are going to match the style of like our downtown signage that we just did, like all those new, like kind of dark colored with a little stylized S at the top, and they're going to match that same project. So the idea is to keep consistency in the look and feel for the whole city. But there'll also be some small green signs at some of the less well-traveled entrances because we just didn't have unlimited funds.
Right. Okay.
Signs can be very expensive, so we didn't want to do fancy ones at every single entrance. But we are going to border every single sign, every single border around the city this fall. So you should be starting to see that come out. So, I'm really proud of that because, again, as a native Saratogian, that's always bothered me. And I'm glad I had the opportunity to do something about it. So, that's going to be really good. And we're going to give some money to the Preservation Foundation for their 66 Philo Street project, or 65. I'm sorry. I'm getting
65. Yes, I'm familiar with it.
Revive 65.
That's downtown, just up Philo Street as you're coming out of from the
library.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Salevo, right up the street there, going towards Circular on the left side as you go uphill. The eyesore that almost came down. Fortunately, the Preservation Foundation and many others stepped in.
Yes,
and sounds like the county as well.
Yeah, so we're going to put a pretty good grant into that this month, probably about $30,000 toward that project. So, again, it's something that, I have the opportunity to help. So I want to help the city. I want to do what's right for us and get all that done. So I'm pretty proud of those accomplishments. It's not easy to get all that done, especially at the county level where you have all of the other towns who have their own, initiatives and needs and wants and whatever. To come into the city and say, hey, you want this money and you want to do these things, they need to see the value as well because they vote for it just as well as you do. So, right. I do my best to try to help them where I can. But at the end of the day, I represent Saratoga Springs. And so my primary goal is to help the city.
We'd be remiss if we did not mention your years of work on trails. You've been a strong proponent of trails all over the county. Do you want to touch on that for a minute?
Yeah, so I think there's probably two things there. The first is I was one of the earliest advocates, I guess I would say, even before I was supervisor for Geyser Road, which has really turned out to be a great success in the city. There was, some detractors and we, tried to work with that. But since the trail's been built, I see people out there with their dogs, people running, people biking. I use it almost every day in the summertime when I'm riding my bike. And I think that, now they're using it for some of those events, right? They have these biking events that go through the county and, they're using the trail now as part of those as well. So I think it's really been a great success. I think it's improved safety out there. I think there's one or two things we could probably do a little better, and I'm working on that. But overall, I think it's really helped Geyser Road become a much more safer avenue corridor throughout the county, and hopefully to connect to the town of Milton eventually and go out beyond the borders of the city as we go forward. But and the Zim Smith Trail is another one that's really been a big county project, and it's coming to Saratoga Springs finally. We're in the phase where we're designing that whole section from Ballston Spa to Saratoga Springs. So it will end at the Saratoga Spa State Park. And you'll be able to ride your bike from really downtown Saratoga Springs all the way to Mechanicville without being on a road the entire way. So that's going to be really, really cool because you could start at Railroad Run, right, which is downtown Saratoga, and that will connect into the state park, then go all the way down off-road all the way to Mechanicville. So, that'll be about 40-ish miles.
Okay.
Total, and it'll be really great. And I think we'll go north from Saratoga eventually. But right now we're just working on that section.
And not only is that great for recreation and so forth, it's a bit of an economic development tool as well, right? It attracts tourists and it brings more people to the county.
Yes, people come to just ride bikes throughout the county. And, we also did a county bike route map. So we did that last year, or actually 2 years ago now, where we mapped out, here's the preferred riding routes in Saratoga County. They're not improved roads, right? They don't have bike trails or anything like that on them. But, these are less traveled, got good shoulders, doing our best to make sure that cyclists go through the county, on routes that are, relatively as safe as they can be, for average roads. Right. So, the idea was to try to direct them to towns or villages within the county and use these county roads to get there because, this will be your preferred route. So that's kind of neat too, for that kind of bicycling tourism. I've done that myself. I'm a cyclist. I go everywhere. I rode the Erie Canalway Trail. I've stayed in hotels along the way. Ride, so that's economic development, right? I wouldn't have normally done that, but now I'm staying in some small village somewhere that, doesn't have a hotel normally, but now does because, there's a bike trail there. So, we can capitalize on that too here in Saratoga.
Great. Now listen, Saratoga is a wonderful place. However, there are issues. There are challenges. What are some of the issues and challenges you'd like to address if the voters honor you with a new term?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest challenge we have is in the city of Saratoga Springs. Absolutely, I think is our homeless issue. It's certainly the biggest challenge that I've seen since I've been supervisor that we've had. Right. I mean, growth is one thing, but on the other side of it comes, these other issues. Right.
Right.
I think the city has done a pretty good job of trying to address that. The summertime shelter that they've had this year, I think has really, had benefits for the city. It's done well. The county runs the Code Blue program, right? So, starting in October, next month, the county will start to take over that homeless program for the wintertime, running the Code Blue. I think our challenge with that is
because it's a county Code Blue, right? It's not just limited
right.
to the city.
Right. Anybody from the county can use Code Blue. Correct. And,
right.
and, I don't know how the city is handling it on their side, but from the end of the day, it's really mostly the same population that's going to move toward the Code Blue solution in the fall. But I think the challenge with that is trying to organize it all. I think we need to have one standard solution at the end of the day for this. If there's going to be a city shelter in the summer, how does the county help out with that? But also, how do we co-locate with the city for one location? Right. Every year for the county, we've had to find a new location for Code Blue, right? One year it's at Adelphi. The next year it's at the Grand Union Motel. Another year it's, could be somewhere else, right? We never have a consistent location for Code Blue.
Right.
And the city has a space right now that's available for a few years, but after that, what happens, right? So I think we need to really get ourselves together in figuring out how we're going to do this solution as a holistic solution. Find one way to get this done, and then kind of commit to that and move forward, because it really will serve those who need the services better, to have a better and consistent solution. And I think it'll be actually more cost effective for us to do it that way at the end of the day.
Right.
Right now we're spending money in two different pots, and we can get into all those nuances, but
okay.
I think it's really our city's biggest challenge right now. Other than that, I would say public safety. But that's always an issue. And I think we always need to put our resources toward that, whether it's EMS or fire or police. Those are always we're always going to have issues with that, and make sure that we're, committing the right resources to that as we go forward.
I don't think you realize how much knowledge you have. I've picked your brain so many times over the years. You are just a wealth of knowledge of so many layers of government and beyond government.
Well, one thing I'll tell you is that, it wasn't always that way, but over the years, you run into so many people and you learn so many things, right? So, just one quick example, there was a group on South Broadway looking for sewer to come in. They want to get a sewer down there, right? And we're working toward that. I think the county is interested in, the county runs a sewer system. One of the other things that the county does, and maybe there's some interest in getting it extended down that way, right? Okay. So the county's looking into it, right? But you learn about engineering, and you learn about what does a sewer do? How do they manage it? What are all the technicalities of putting it together, right? That's something I would have never cared to learn about, right? If I wasn't in elected office, but there's so many other little things like that, right? Road engineering, you can take the topic, right? And you learn about it as a supervisor because you need to make decisions, right?
You and I have had discussions. You and I have had discussions about labor negotiations. I was able to give you primary years back on that.
Personnel law. I mean, there's so many things that you learn when you become an elected official, and hopefully I can put those skills to use, to benefit the residents. And that's really the goal at the end of the day is, serving the community and getting back to, ensuring that we have, health, safety, welfare of our community. And that's the primary job as supervisor at the end of the day. And, I'm looking forward to continuing in that if I can. Hopefully the voters have felt that I've done a good job and will continue to keep me there. So I'm very proud of the work I've done and, want to just keep continuing to do it, at least for one more term, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Excellent. I think election day is 8 weeks from today, if my math is correct. So folks, start paying attention. Summer is effectively over, and kids are back in school. Time to start paying attention to who can best represent you. Matt, thanks for joining us today. And folks, Matt Veitch for Supervisor on November 7th. Thanks, Matt.
All right. Thank you very much, Dan.